That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and it is week 2 of NFL action. You are here for the Friday night breakdown. We got two blonde bombshells in the house to break down week 2 with us. We got our fantasy friends. Brian Scott is in with all of the latest in injuries. We got Judge Jordan's got his fantasy court. Bandy's flexing for his flex starts of the week. DJ Chuck Bass is playing the hits. Nikki is in the house, but later we got some Friday night fantasies. It's time for TSS Fantasy. It's time for TSS Fantasy. Fantasy. It's time for TSS Fantasy. Fantasy. It's time for TSS Fantasy.
You know, the great thing about being a football player is you don't have to take a shower to go to work.
There it is.
Well, it's Friday night. Better be taking a shower if you want to hang out with us, because we are doing it tonight, breaking down week 2. Let's get the introduction started. Going to go ladies first tonight. Well, first, welcome into the studio, Nikki Gist. Welcome in. It's the Blonde Blitz. Welcome into the studio.
Thank you. Aren't you so excited we're here?
We are super
So excited.
indeed.
You better be. This made
yes,
your show
indeed.
so much better.
It needs a little feminine touch every once in a while. I do feel it. Let's welcome also in Deb Whitcas, Sports Report. Deb, welcome into the studio.
Thank you so much for having us, guys. We just made the show a little blonder and a little better.
A little bit.
Absolutely.
Very blonde today. You guys need it.
And a lot prettier, I assure you. Let's also welcome in the Judge, Jordan Thomas. Welcome into the studio.
I may be the ugly one on the panel. However, my team won 40-0 this week, so I'm still having the best
Jordan,
week
I
ever.
didn't even. Are you just gonna come for me like right
Oh,
away?
yeah.
All
I have-
game
Why?
long.
Why do you
I
have
have-
to come for me?
Oh,
I
all
was
game.
being nice.
I would tell you pre-game, Jordan said he said I got something for Nikki. So he was already gunning
That's
for you
right.
right as we started up tonight. He's ready to talk a little Giants Cowboys apparently. All right, well, let's get the we'll get the bills paid real quick. Don't forget, go to tssfantasy.com. All of our week 2 rankings are up, so go check those out. Also go to Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code TSS. We'll double that deposit up to $100. Go check them out. Got lots of great weekly I don't know what the hell I even call them, the parlay things, whatever. They're really fun to play, though. Whatever you call them, go check them out. Also, Jazz Sportsbooks, lots of great stuff there as well. Use our promo code there. And if you're looking for some championship bling for your fantasy champion next year, go to Pro Am Belts today. If you're on our YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the comment, hit a like. We appreciate it. Little things stopping you from doing it. Big things popping for us when you do. All right, ladies, well, we're going to start out tonight with a little bit of news.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live.
So we'll do it live. And listen, ladies, I don't know about you, but look, someone's here just for the Judge and the commish. I don't know about what y'all
They're
doing.
lying.
Hey,
They're lying.
Wow.
I know
Should we
they're
just
lying.
leave, Deb? I mean,
I'm like, what's
because
going
I
on?
came on here and I
wanted
immediately
there.
got bullied and
I
assaulted
just-
by
Nikki-
Cowboys Nation immediately.
Nikki,
And I
just
came
wanna
in
say
neutral, Jordan.
It
I
wasn't
came in
just to
neutral.
you. It wasn't just to you. Dr. Brian's also a Giants fan, and that was 100% for him as well. So
Doesn't
it
matter.
is
Dr.
an
Brian's
equal
not on here yet.
opportunity
He's coming.
ass
He's
kicking.
coming. He's
Judge Willard.
waiting in the hole. He's
Judge
coming
Willard.
in a second. PSR, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you. And 40-0.
Wow.
Never
I'm
forget.
getting off. I'm sick of this shit.
God.
This is ridiculous. Did not come on here to be
that's
terrorized tonight by
that's-
Cowboys Nation.
All right, let's change the subject, shall we? Let's talk about last night's game. That's basically what's in the news. 34-28 Eagles score, not really reflective of the game, quite frankly. Didn't really feel like the Vikings were really in it, to be quite frank. Although Kirk Cousins, fantasy-wise, great night last night, 364 yards, 4 TDs. Going to be some concern going forward about Alexander Madison and his production in this offense. Last night, 8 carries, 28 yards, 3 receptions, 11 yards, not very good. Justin Jefferson, been great all season, 11 receptions, 159 yards. The rookie sensation, Jordan Addison, 3 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, the tight end position, hallelujah, has stepped up, 7 receptions, 66 yards, 2 TDs. And KJ Osborne, 3 receptions, 34 yards, and a TD. On the other side of Zed football, Jalen Hurts. This is why he's been money in fantasy no matter what. He's been struggling a little bit throwing the football, but carrying the football, especially in the goal line situations, he's been money. 193 yards in the air, 1 TD, 1 interception, 12 carries for 35 yards and 2 TDs. DeAndre Swift last night. What about Swift? 28 carries, 175 yards, a TD, 3 receptions, 6 yards. Boston Scott, actually, that's something to note, had 5 carries versus Rashad Penny's 3, and he made 40 yards out of those. So just something to note. Devonta Smith is continuing his streak, 4 receptions, 131 yards, and a TD. A.J. Brown, a little bit still of a struggle, 4 receptions, 29 yards. Goddard still struggling as well, 6 receptions for 22 yards. The Eagles' offense a little bit in the passing attack has struggled a little bit to start with. But let's go around room. We'll start again with ladies first. Deb, we'll go to you first on this one. This is your home squad, so I'm going to go to you first. Give me your reaction.
Oh, my God. I'm getting out of here.
Give me your
Go ahead. Do you want to go?
Give me your reaction from last night, what you thought of last night, and just give me your reaction from last night. What do you think? What's your thoughts?
All right. So not a flashy game, obviously. But they went with what worked. A win is a win. They went with the run game. I'll take it. They kind of went back to their roots. I think at this point, Eagle fans just have to realize that this isn't the Super Bowl team that we saw last year. New OC. New DC, new players, change things around. But I think the Eagles can be really good and win. Like you just said, let's talk about good. Hello, running back DeAndre Swift, amazing. Super excited for this, Philly native. You said all the stats there, so I don't have to. But also too, Jake Elliott hit that 61-yard, record-tying field goal. He missed one in the first quarter, so that was shocking because he doesn't miss a lot. And he was actually named NFC East Special Teams Player last week. So I was like, okay, good with him. Devontae Smith, great. I'm a little worried about the injuries, I have to be honest, going forward. Dean was out, Bradbury was out. I thought the defense struggled a little bit without them for sure. It was really good to see Brandon Graham back on the field, though, I have to say. I love Brandon, and I love I'm actually friends with his family, so it was good to see him out there. We lost Gainwell. I'm upset about that. Scott's in concussion protocol still. Maddox may miss the rest of the season, so we're only in week 2. So, but no, all in all, I'm happy. I thought they stepped up from week 1. Still some things they need to improve upon, but I'm still excited for the season.
Nice position to be in when you're 2-0 and have things to work on. Nikki, what say you on last night? What'd you take away from last night's game?
Pass. I'm sick of watching the Eagles win. I'm tired of it. I don't want to talk about it. Fucking Vikings. Could you just come on? God.
Do something.
I'll say this though. Kirk Cousins, he actually put up some nice fantasy stats, so it wasn't like a complete bust, but yeah.
And you know what, too? I think the Vikings, they never gave up. That was the one thing I liked about they stayed in that game, and had a chance for sure. So that was, to be honest, I fell asleep in the first quarter because of all of the fumbles. I was like, what in the world is this shit?
Yeah. It started out like one of those. it started out like one of those playoff type games where, where the teams were kind of feeling each other out. And I kind of had a feeling in the second quarter, the offenses were going to start to get going a little bit, which they did. Not as much as maybe I thought they would, but they still got off and got people some good fantasy points nonetheless. Judge, what do you say on last night? What's your takeaway?
Kirk Cousins puts the garbage in garbage time. Like, this game was never as close as that final score showed. And I feel like, as a Cowboys fan, right, the Eagles are our arch nemesis, right? But I feel like this downfall of the Eagles is being very greatly exaggerated. This team looks great to me. They came out and they smacked New England. They got bored. They let them come back. They came out. They smacked Minnesota. They got bored. They let them come back. This team needs to figure out how to close games again. But, like, to me, the Eagles look just fine. Devontae Smith is here. I think he will outproduce A.J. Brown on the season. They've been pretty much 50-50 in their touches over the last 2 seasons. To me, I think Devontae is taking that step. I also think Jordan Addison has arrived, and I think he's somebody you have to plug into your lineups every single week. Alexander Madison is garbage. Get him out if you still can. I want no part of him. And as long as he stays healthy, DeAndre Swift absolutely is not giving this job back to Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, Rashad Penny, or any other running back they want to trot out there. One last thing I want to say is, again, I hate the Eagles. Sorry, Deb, I hate them.
It's okay.
But the whole world, I just keep seeing everybody today, we should ban this play where the Eagles line everything up and just absolutely run it down people's throat. Can't stop them. If they have some sort of a Philadelphia rule where they ban that play, it will be the biggest travesty in NFL history.
Yeah. I am 1,000% behind you. That is completely ridiculous. Stop it. Just like when you play, like for me, I used to do that in Madden all the time. Stop it. What do you want me to do? Stop the play and I'll stop doing it. Rio Robinson, good point about that Jefferson fumble. A lot of people brought that up and how that's the worst rule in the game, that if you fumble it out, it's the other team's ball. The only thing I'll say to that is, you know what that means. You know where you're stretching out, and that's why he was doing it. So you're taking that risk, and in knowing you're taking that risk, that's what happens sometimes. And so I don't think there's really nothing. I like the way the rule is. It is what it is. You know what time it is. Stop reaching out, and you wouldn't have to worry about it. But anyway, yeah, like you said, I think there's nothing wrong with this Eagles team. Everyone's been talking about blah, 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 blah. Eagles. They're 2-0, bro. That's all I got to say. Cool. Brian's waiting in the wings. Let's bring him in. We got some injuries to talk about. It's Brian Scott with the injury. And by the way, a little smack talk while you're behind the scenes there. Welcome into the studio, my friend.
A little bit.
Thanks for having me. I am excited to be on with the Blonde Blitz. Ladies, nice to see you. Unbelievable show so far. If you guys haven't checked it out, you're missing out. It's been awesome. I've seen every episode. I'm in love with it. And don't worry, Nick, I got you back. Judge Jordan's just a little salty. I'm sitting 6th in one of our leagues, and I shouldn't be there, according to all them. So he's just a little salty. He had an opportunity to take it out on you, it wasn't directed at you. He was directed at me. But I'm not worried about it. The Giants were the first team ever to lose 40-0, to lose the turnover battle 7-0. I'm sorry, the sack battle, the turnover battle 3-0. All in a single game. It had never been done before by one team in an entire season, and they did it in one game. So beat that, Dallas. Beat that.
I just want to say Brian did that intro way better than I did, so if we could just cut mine and put Brian in there, that was
they killed it.
I did it on the Blonde Blitz. So
Deb did it on Wednesday night. She hits me with it. And then I was like, you guys got to watch the clip where I just visibly get activated. I was like,
with the head twitch,
what?
I saw it.
The health, yeah, the
I noticed it right away, too. It was the tilt. Yeah.
All right, what do we got on the injury list tonight, Mr. Bry?
Well, so there's a huge list. It's quite large. I'm going to go down kind of. So I just want to start out. I'm just going to give myself a little pat on the back. I think I might have been the first one on all of social media to call out Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injury. If you look at my tweet or whatever you want to call it, X, it was at like 8:35 p.m. during the game. So couldn't have been more than like a minute after it happened. I knew right away just watching his reaction and having been around that before. So he's crazy if he thinks he's going to be back before the end of this year. That's virtually impossible. But, let him dream. We're not seeing him this year. But the good news is he probably will come back, and he will be ready for next year because he's going to have plenty of time to get ready. So if there's one, shining star there, that's it. Anthony Richardson, we'll start there. He was thought to have injured his knee and ankle. He missed the last couple plays of the game. He's been practicing all week. He's not even on the injury list anymore, so he's good to go. Aaron Jones, running back for Green Bay, hammy issue. He grabbed at it after he caught a 35-yard touchdown pass. Whenever you see a guy grab for his hamstring, that is a big red flag, my friends. He's been saying that he's okay, but as we've seen with Cooper Kupp and some of these other guys, man, when you're messing with a hamstring, if you're not 100% and able to go on a full practice before the game this weekend, I would be a little bit reserved about expecting a lot out of him. And to be honest, I'm not sure what he's done in practice this week. I haven't seen a lot of reports, but you might want to look into that before putting him on your lineup because he could have a setback. He could be on a snap count. Hard to say for sure. I told everybody since last year, stay away from J.K. Dobbins. Nobody wanted to listen to me. And if you didn't, this is what you get. They got a guy with a jacked up knee who now has an Achilles rupture and will be out for the rest of the year. And, he's like the third athlete in professional sports within the last 2 years has had this happen. Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors had it happen. Tariq Cohen, the running back for the Bears, who actually just recently, after 2 years, signed with the Panthers, had this happen. And he's like the third guy that I can think of. Sterling Shepard of the Giants actually had this happen, but he tore his Achilles first and then tore his ACL. So it's a weird kind of thing. I'm not sure if there's a connection here, if there's some kind of new trend starting. You don't typically see that in the world of sports medicine, so I'm not sure what that's all about. It's a little scary to think of why this happened. And for all the turf people out there, Dobbins tore his on grass. So it wasn't the turf. And I can tell you it wasn't the turf that caused Aaron Rodgers either. So we could just drop that argument. It's been going on for 30 years. I'm not going to get into it. But another big one here, Austin Eckler. Missed the whole second half with an ankle injury. Apparently, his agent passed away unexpectedly. And so I read that somewhere. And so he was attending to that funeral, but he's also been nursing this ankle injury. He hasn't practiced at all this week. So I don't think we're seeing him on Sunday. And that sucks because I had him in one of my teams. So I went out and got Joshua Kelly to fill in for him. I haven't seen any updates. All I've seen is that he's not been in practice. So that's never good. Evan Hull, I was asked about him. He's going to be on IR. And I had predicted that, usually when they say that he's going to miss some significant time, that's like code for we're thinking about putting him on IR, and they did. And I think they made a roster move to fill his spot too. Good news for Buffalo. I'm sorry, Buffalo, not Buffalo. Excuse me. Zach Moss. Who's he with now? I forget.
The Colts.
The Colts. Yeah, he was with before, but he's going to be back from a fractured forearm. I thought he actually would have been back this past weekend. So he should be no issues. I mean, he should literally step back on the field and pick up where he left off. It was an upper extremity injury, not a big deal for a running back. Conditioning shouldn't have suffered, so he should be good to go. We all know the Cooper Kupp story. I'm not going to get too much into that. Even if he does come back off of the IR, I would keep a close eye on what he does because they have 21 days to actually activate him once he comes off of IR. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be ready to play right away. So keep an eye when he comes back. Don't think he's just going to jump in the lineup and pick up where he left off from his MVP type season a couple years ago. Devontae Adams, I saw that yesterday he did not practice. He's dealing with some foot injury, but then on Wednesday, but then Thursday, yesterday, he actually was a full participant. So I think we'll see him in the lineup this weekend. DeAndre Hopkins missed Wednesday's practice, wasn't seen during the open media portion of Thursday's practice. Not sure what he did today, but he's coming off an ankle sprain, and I would hope that he would have at least had a chance to test it out today. He could be a game time decision, but I would keep a close eye on him heading into the weekend. Christian Watson, I'm going to guess he's a no-go for week 2. He had like 1 day of light practice today, possibly. I'm not even sure if he did, but that's not going to be enough. He's dealing with a hamstring. Not something you want to risk putting him out there too prematurely. Jacoby Myers, he is in concussion protocol. And as far as I know, I don't think he did anything today. I know he was out Wednesday and Thursday. And for concussion protocol, if you can't do physical exertion asymptomatically, you're not going to be cleared. So there's almost no way that on 1 day of practice he was able to do all that and get cleared. That'd be a miracle, especially since he had 2 days of nothing. Jerry Jeudy is slated to play this weekend. I would be very cautious with him. He looked like his leg fell off when he got injured. He was carted off the field. Again, hamstring issue. This was several weeks ago. He's had time to recover. But they're saying that he could have played last week. But I was kind of skeptical of that news based on his injury and stuff. And plus, I don't even think he had a full practice session until later or midweek this week. So he's probably going to be in there. How effective he's going to be, I'm a little bit hesitant to say. Speaking of hamstrings, right, going down the list here, we got Deontay Johnson. He got injured in the third quarter, week 1, and they said they had yet to put a timeline on his return, which that's another code for possible IR trip. So pay close attention to him. I'm not sure if he did anything in practice today. I don't think he was doing much the last 2 days. He was quoted as saying he's really frustrated with the injury. That's never a good sign. Brandon Cooks is dealing with a sprained MCL. They reported that it's actually pretty mild and he's actually feeling pretty good. So I think he will be available. He had a rest day on Wednesday. Not sure what he did yesterday and today for practice, but he could play on that. Devontae Parker was another one. Knee injury, limited in practice since week 1. They said they expect him to play. I think that's true. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's not going to risk it in practice if they only have a limited amount of time to get ready. So he'll probably be listed as questionable, but I think he'll play. Good news, Mark Andrews should be playing. He had a full practice today. Looked pretty good out there. Doesn't seem to be any major issues still lingering from that quad injury. Also, Travis Kelce was back at practice, limited Wednesday, limited yesterday, probably limited again today, but I think he'll be ready. And we should see him full go. He's playing with a little compression sleeve on his knee. And then Pat Freiermuth was the other tight end. He had some type of sternal bruise, like a chest bruise, and said that they probably will be able to get him ready for Monday night's game, which is good. That works into his advantage. He gets an extra day of rest. So that's all the ones I had on my list. It's a lot of them, but week 2, man, it's going to just get worse from here.
Yeah, indeed. Keeping you busy for sure. In fact, the DeAndre Hopkins, the rumor mill was that it might be a high ankle sprain as well. So might be bad news there for in the Titans. There was a question if you had an update on Puka Nacua in there or CJ Stroud. There was David had a question on there. Did you see any updates?
I heard about Puka Nacua like yesterday where he had some type of like oblique strain or something. Not sure when he suffered that and how significant it is. But, this is a chance for a dude to make an impact and make a name for himself, filling in for Cooper Kupp and having a nice week 1. If he doesn't go week 2, he's shooting himself in the foot big time. So I expect him to be out there. I expect him to be out there. I haven't heard anything about CJ Stroud, so maybe you can fill me in, but otherwise I haven't heard anything.
All right. Well, I haven't either. We'll, as we'll go along the show, I'll Google it as we go. We'll see what we can answer for you, David. All right. Well, we appreciate you, Brian. We'll see you. I guess that's answered. He sucks. We'll see you on Sunday morning, my friend. You'll be waking up with us at TSS. Where can we subscribe and get your great content until then?
Yeah, so Twitter at Injured List Pod, the website injuredlist.com. That's where Andrew LeDuc and I do our weekly Inside the Medical Tent blog, which gives you a little bit more behind the scenes kind of information and Andrew's take on the fantasy effect of these injuries and the guys that we discuss. So check that out. It's a good read. And mostly Twitter. That's pretty much where I'm active these days.
Go follow, get all his great stuff. You want to get his injury report, right, to set your lineups in. All right. Well, Brian, we appreciate you. Ladies, I hope you got your dancing shoes on because it's time for the Friday night breakdown. All right, here we go. We got some games to talk about. Let's get it started with the weekly breakdown. The Ravens at the Bengals. We're going to start there. Ravens last week and currently as it stands, they're 13th against fantasy QBs. They're 6th against running backs. They are 23rd against receivers and 8th versus tight ends. The Bengals on the other side, 27th. You saw that horrible game they played, but they're still 27th against QBs, 16th against running backs, 5th against receivers, and 27th against tight ends. Jordan, give me some guys you like, don't like. What's up with the breakdown?
Okay, I'm going to start with the quarterbacks. Last week, I told you guys to be careful with Joe Burrow. Now, I did not think he would, shit the bed to the level that he did, but he had struggled against the Browns. This week, I'm going to tell you, Lamar Jackson has struggled against these Bengals, and these Bengals have done really good against the quarterback going back into last season. 10th lowest yards per attempt, the lowest pass rating, and the fewest fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. Now, listen, I'm not telling you to bench Lamar. You can't do it. If you have him, and you run with him, but don't expect a whole lot out of him this week. I'm not touching Edwards. I'm not touching Hill. Edwards is going to get the yards. Hill's going to get the touchdowns. I call them ooh and gross. That's Lamar Jackson's team as far as the running back room goes. Zay Flowers absolutely busted on the scene, looking like a man possessed last week. I'm absolutely starting him. 45.5% target share, 37% targets per route run. He had alpha usage, and I expect that to continue. I already saw enough of OBJ to know that I want no more to do with him this season. And as much as it breaks my heart, Rashad Bateman, I don't think is going to be the guy that I want him to be. I think him and OBJ are ultimately going to cannibalize each other and make them both wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5s that you just start in a pinch. I'm not starting either of them with any kind of confidence. Mark Andrews, full participant in practice. I am absolutely running it. I want to give some kudos to the commissioner here because all off season I was banging that drum that Joe Mixon was done, and Joe Mixon looked a lot more like 2021 Joe Mixon than whatever the hell he was last season. I'm still not convinced he's back, but I have a little bit of hope, and I'm starting him, in any lineups I have. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins was the biggest bust of the week. However, he had a 25% target share, 59.3% of the air yards. He's going to be just fine. Keep starting him. And then my sneaky play of the week, Tyler Boyd. Baltimore's terrible against slot receivers. They allowed the 5th most receiving yards last season, the most fantasy points per game to the slot last season. If ever there's a Tyler Boyd game, it's this week.
Oh, indeed. Now, you saw the weather conditions. I'm just going to bring this up because as I was getting ready for Sunday's show, I noticed the weather is actually going to play a part again this week. There is still a chance of rain in this matchup as well. Not as wind-wise, only 6 mile an hour, but it does say chance of rain scheduled for this game. So just something to take note of. All right, let's get on to the Seahawks at the Lions. Seahawks last week, they are actually 16th against fantasy QBs, 24th against running backs, 29th against receivers, and 20th versus tight ends. That's against those LA Rams. That was a big surprise. Lions, 26th against QBs, 13th against running backs, 15th against receivers, and they're 28th versus tight ends. Deb, what do you say about this matchup? Give me some guys you like and don't like.
So their all-time matchup, Seahawks have prevailed in history. The last matchup they had was 10-2022. The Seahawks won that 48-45. I thought Jared Goff looked really good last week, to be honest. 253 yards, 1 touchdown. David Montgomery also liked what he was doing. 21 rushes for 74 yards, 1 touchdown. Jamari Gibb, NFL debut. I think it'll be interesting to see if he gets more carries this week. I would play him this week. He had 7 carries for 42 yards rushing. Who else? Josh Reynolds, 4 catches for 80 yards. So yeah, I'm liking those guys. For the Seahawks, Geno Smith, No, I'd sit him. I just don't think Nikki, I think you were right. I don't think, Nikki and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago in one of our first shows. She was like, I don't think he's going to be the quarterback he was last season. And I was like, I don't know about that. Okay. I watched the game, the first week, and I agree with you now. Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker, 12 carries for 64 yards. Not bad. What else? I feel like last season I would have said that the Seahawks over the Lions, but I'm going Lions over Seahawks this season for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Listen, I kind of looked at this game kind of like last night's game, where I viewed like I would smash start all both sides of the coin last night, and I pretty much would do the same on this matchup too. Again, this looks like one of those back and forth. Now, as you mentioned though, the Geno Smith thing, I'm like that old song "Back to Life, Back to Reality" kind of came into my head, because that's kind of what it feels like for Geno Smith. But we'll see in this matchup. They're going to have to throw the ball to keep up with Detroit. So this could be one of those fantasy bonanza games. I like all guys on each side, even Tyler Lockett a lot in this one too. All right, Nikki, let's get on to the Colts at the Texans. This great matchup. I'm sure you're excited to get this one. The Colts, they're 25th against fantasy QBs, 25th against running backs, 26th against receivers, 17th versus tight ends. Not very good at all. The Texans, a common theme from last year has started again. They are 6th against fantasy quarterbacks, but 28th against fantasy running backs, 16th against receivers, and 4th versus tight ends. Give some guys you like and don't like.
Well, Anthony Richardson obviously closed out the week at QB4, and going up against the Texans is a dream because they allow the most rushing yards in the NFL this week. I think go all in on the Colts this week. As far as CJ Stroud, he is questionable with a shoulder injury, so we could see Davis Mills, right? Is his backup. I don't like anybody on the Texans for you guys. Not even Dameon Pierce, because what we figured would happen in the preseason, right? He's getting taken out. Singletary's taking, some of those targets away. It was sub 50% snap share and a limited receiving role. So I don't like anybody on the Texans, but I'm here for it on the Colts. So
I love it. Smash start that Colts D, according to Nikki. All right. Well, listen, we are having this nightclub theme. So our boy, DJ Chuck Bass, played us a little visit. He's going to play us the hits from week 2 in fantasy. Let's check it out.
Bingo! Welcome back to Playing the Hits with DJ Chuck Bass. We were moving and grooving last week until the cops tried to shut us down with some song and dance about a city ordinance. But don't worry, we've moved to an abandoned warehouse in the packaging district, and nothing can shut us down except for maybe some bad fentanyl. I've got some filthy deep tracks for you all that would even have the parents from Dirty Dancing out there getting their eagle on, so let's get to it. Our opening kickoff track is the celibate Seattle Seahawks backup vocalist himself, Tyler Lockett. Outside of one DK Metcalf burner route, the Seahawks were on a bender last week that made Keith Richards look like Hillary Clinton. Look for them to sober up and adjust their game plan as they travel to Detroit to take on a pitiful Lions secondary. Let us not forget that last year, Lockett had an awful outing in week 1 with 4 points and bounced back with a 16-point jam. Let's keep that track rolling. The meat of this deep track sandwich is the zero RB darling of the fantasy community, Mr. David Montgomery. Just as Justin Timberlake has showed us that you don't have to have talent to sell millions of records, Montgomery has shown us that you don't have to have talent to get the ball 21 times and finish as an RB1. The Rams gave Cam Akers and Kyron Williams 37 carries last week. I like for the Lions to do a cover version of that this week as well. And coming in at number 1 on this week's Deep Tracks is Mr. Jahan Dotson. Rough outing for the Commanders last week, but week 1 offenses tend to struggle when the defense has all summer to prepare for them. Jacoby Myers and the Raiders slaughtered the Broncos last week out of the slot, and I like for Dotson to continue that trend as he runs a nearly 70% slot alignment. This is a very favorable matchup as the Broncos struggled to generate any pressure last week, and I like for them to blitz a little bit more, which should open up the field even more. For our deep track of the week, Jahan Dotson. That is our countdown for the week. I'm Chuck Bass, and that's playing the hits.
Wow.
Chuck Bass playing the hits.
I'm ready to
on
dance.
Friday night. Now, let's get it.
playlist.
It's kind of party after this. Let's go. All right. Well, let's get down to the big matchup. And I'm going to talk really about the weather in this matchup in a minute. Chiefs at the Jags. Chiefs were their 15th against fantasy QBs, 20th versus running backs, 19th versus tight end, 19th versus receiver, 25th versus the tight end. Jags, 28th versus QBs. They're number 2 against running backs, 18th versus tight ends, and 18th versus receivers, and 18th versus tight ends. My bad, a little tongue-tied. Speaking of the weather of this game, it literally says, when I looked up the weather, it said definite thunderstorms. So get ready for a wet, nasty Chiefs-Jags matchup. Jordan, I'll kick it to you. Give me some guys you like and don't like. You're on mute, my friend.
Sorry about
Get
that.
it together.
Yeah, the thunderstorms you're hearing off in the distance it's just the reemergence of the great one, Travis Kelce, coming back into the scene. Listen, this game is real simple. If you have anybody on Kansas City, if they play wide receiver, cut them or sit them. If they play tight end and his name is Travis Kelce, smash it. The guy is going to get 1 billion targets. As far as the running backs go, I'm probably fading Pacheco this week if I have any better options. The Jags' rush defense is pretty stout. I still think he's a decent play at worst, but if you have somebody better, I plug him in. I really like Jerick McKinnon in this one. Surprise, surprise. I'm the biggest McKinnon stan in the world. And he didn't do much in week 1. However, Jacksonville allowed the second most receptions, the second most receiving yards, and the 11th highest yards per reception to running backs last season. So you can beat them that way. So I expect McKinnon to get involved. On the other side of the ball, start them all, unless if their name is Christian Kirk. I want all the T-Law. I want Travis Etienne, who was an absolute alpha in his usage last week. Calvin Ridley locked in top 5 rest of the way. Zay Jones is the wide receiver 2 on this offense. Everybody wants to talk about that Garrett Wilson catch last week, but man, that Zay Jones catch was something else. And Evan Ingram to me is a tight end 1 until further notice. So I'm starting him, with confidence in every lineup. I don't have a Kelce or an Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, you could pretty much pick any tight end and start him with confidence. The way this has gone so far this year. But yeah, it's going to be real interesting, this matchup, to see how the weather plays into it. It's a huge AFC matchup the way it's lined up. So will the Chiefs go 0-2? That'll be really interesting. All right, let's get to the Packers at the Falcons. Big game for the Packers last week against fantasy QBs. However, they're 17th. Against running backs, they're 29th. Against receivers, they're 8th. And against tight ends, they're 16th. Falcons are 7th against fantasy QBs. They're 19th versus running backs, 4th versus receivers, and 30th versus tight ends. Deb, give me some guys you like, don't like in this matchup.
Yep. So their all-time record matchup, Packers prevail. Shocker there. Their last time these guys played each other, Packers 30, Falcons 16. That was 10-5 2020. So it's been a bit. For Atlanta, I mean, Ritter, okay, whatever. I don't know if I'd play him. Bijan Robinson had his NFL debut. He did okay. Six catches for 27 yards, 1 touchdown. Honestly, but though it was running back Tyler Algier.
Algier. Yep.
Yeah, Algier. Is it Algier?
Yep.
So funny because I looked that up and I was like, wait, how do you say that? Yeah, I mean, he kind of came in. He was kind of shocking. You know what I mean? I think we'll see more of him in this game. I think you should definitely play him. So yeah, 15 carries for 75 yards. But I mean, Green Bay, hello, Jordan Love, who needs Aaron Rodgers apparently. I was kind of shocked. Who knew? But you let your backup sit for 3 years, and there you go. So yeah, I would definitely play him. Aaron Jones too, 9 carries, 41 yards. Yeah, so I'm excited for this game. I lived in ATL for 3 years, so I'm excited to see what comes of this game.
Listen, Deb, I know you ain't been watching my show because if you've been, you know that Tyler Algier has been somebody we've been talking about here for a hot minute right now. No, I'm just messing with you. But Tyler Algier, I think in this whole running offense against it looks like something that the Packers are susceptible to could be really interesting as this matchup plays out in the Dome in Atlanta. So definitely something I'm excited to see and see if this actually Falcons defense is for real. We'll see. Speaking of, we'll see if somebody's for real. How about Josh Allen, the Raiders at the Bills? Hopefully they can bounce back. The Raiders, they're 21st against QBs and running backs, 17th against receivers, and 26th versus tight ends. Bills are 8th versus QB, 27th versus running back, 10th versus receiver, and 3rd versus tight end. Nikki, give me some guys you like and don't like.
Yeah, so I don't like Jimmy G this week. Bills are very unforgiving against enemy QBs, and the Bills are pissed off. But I do like James Cook this week. He had a lot of volume in week 1, 60% of the snaps, 12 of 15 running back carries. He had 6 targets where he caught 4 of them. I like this matchup. I think it's going to be a big day for him. Raiders have allowed the 5th most points per game to running back. So I'm looking for a big day out of James Cook.
Yeah, that's exciting. Like to see James Cook actually look like he had a little bit of juice on him when I saw him in that Jets matchup. So it's going to be interesting to see. Tyler at Colts chiming in, Thunder and Lightning with Algier and Bijan. And he thinks Aiden O'Connell better than Jimmy G. Check that out.
Don't be stealing Thunder and Lightning.
That's a Giant thing.
It is.
All right, let's go on to the Chargers at the Titans. We know about the Chargers last week against America's team. They are dead last against fantasy QBs because of Tua. And running back, they're 18th against receivers. They're 30 dead last, also because of Tyreek Hill. And the tight ends are 14th. The Titans defense stepping up 18th versus QBs. They're number 1 against running backs, 31st though against receivers, and 13th versus tight ends. Deb, this is in your hometown state. Your hometown love. What's up? What's up with this game here? You tell me.
Okay, first of all, super bummed that Eckler's out or possibly going to be out. So, I mean, obviously you play him, right? But if he's not there, who do you play? I feel like honestly, to be honest, like the Chargers and Dolphins game was the only game that was really a real NFL game last week. Obviously, Dolphins killed it. God, like, I mean, who else? Like, who do you play? I mean, Kellen Moore's killing it at OC, I feel like. And I feel like the defense is where the Bolts are going to struggle this game. To be honest, I feel like, with the whole sit and bench or play, I feel like Staley and the coaches are the ones, like, that's what everyone's talking about with this game. You know what I mean? Like, they both should be fired. Like, we should sit both of the coaches for this one. So, but yeah, I mean, the Titans, Tannehill looked horrible. I felt like I was calling for Will Levis to jump into that. Henry looks great. Play him. Yeah, that's about it. I think Chargers have the game, though.
Yeah, Chargers probably do. If DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play, that really does change a lot. I mean, they're going to lean on Derrick Henry anyway, but they'll definitely be leaning a lot harder. Treylon Burks obviously be somebody to take note of, obviously, if Hopkins is a no-go here. And, again, I think on the Chargers side, I think they get loose. This Titans secondary has been awful since last year. So I like to see a smash start with Herbert and Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, just light them in. I think you'll be good to go either way against this Titans D. All right, let's get on to the Bears at the Bucks. The Bears are 30th against QBs and running backs, 14th versus receivers, 15th versus tight ends. The Bucks 23rd against receivers, 17th versus running backs, 30th versus receiver. I must have said it wrong. 17th versus running back, 23rd versus QB, 30th receivers, and 31st versus tight end. Jordan, give me some guys you don't like in this one.
Last week, Jordan Love threw for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns against these Bears, and he did that without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Baker Mayfield's about to have a day. I'm dialing him up everywhere. Justin Fields looked like an absolute joke. The Bears' offense looked horrible. I don't blame Fantasy Jesus for not showing his face this weekend after all those shit DJ Moore takes this offseason. The Bears looked like the worst offense in the NFL. Hopefully, they can get something going this week. Until they do, I'm not starting a single Bear on offense. I don't care what kind of draft capital that I dumped into them. On the other side of the ball, I'm dialing up Mike Evans. I'm dialing up Chris Godwin. I already told you I'm playing Baker Mayfield. I probably should quit Rachaad White, but I'm not ready to do it yet. I'm probably throwing him back out there again, but he also did not look very good in week 1. As far as the tight ends, I'm not playing either one of this weekend. Maybe one of them falls into the end zone on accident, but I'm not starting them with any confidence.
Pay attention. Wake up with us on Sunday morning. This game also calling for widespread showers could make the running games more effective in this one. So just make sure you do watch out for that. Nikki, guess what? The judge held fantasy court, and it happened to be someone from your squad who's in court
Nikki.
tonight.
Oh,
Let's
my
go ahead and
God.
check out Judge Jordan. Fantasy court.
I
This is
can't.
going to be great.
Oh,
What
I'm
you're about to witness is real.
This court is now in session. You may be seated. Today, we would like to call to the stand Mr. Brian Daboll, head coach of the New York Giants. Mr. Daboll, you are charged today with attempted murder.
Oh my.
This charge stems from your reckless abandonment for your franchise quarterback, Daniel Jones, this past Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys. On Sunday night, Mr. Daboll, in front of thousands in attendance and millions watching from home, we observed as you trotted out Daniel Jones play after play after play. And at first, this court will give you credit. You did a pretty good job of making this look like an accident. After all, everybody knew that your sorry-ass organization was no match for the Dallas Cowboys, as you guys haven't beaten this team since your team was led by Becky the Icebox O'Shea in '94. However, it became apparent pretty quick after, 7 sacks, 2 interceptions, 5 fumbles, all of your starters being benched, being down 40-0, that you had no intention on Daniel Jones getting back on the team playing after the game. This was a clear-cut case of a premeditated act, and we had testimony from Wink Martindale, Saquon Barkley, and even the gunman Micah Parsons, 11 from heaven himself. We have also taken into account the motive of Mr. Jones embezzling $160 million in this offseason. And you were just hoping that if he just died on Sunday night, that maybe you could reallocate some of those resources towards something more productive, like maybe a goddamn offensive line. Mr. Daboll, this court finds you guilty. You are hereby sentenced to suffer through 16 more games with Daniel Jones as your quarterback. This court is adjourned.
Really? Why don't you pronounce his name right, Jordan? It's Brian. So you are guilty of mispronunciation. Did not come to get abused all night long. And someone should arrest you guys, really, truly, because this is an ambush and this is abuse. I've been ambushed and I'm not going to tolerate it. Look,
You're muted now.
Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Sorry. I unplugged my mic accidentally. Wow, what a! I just didn't even dawn on me who you did and who was coming on, and we didn't even plan that actually.
No, you did plan it.
I
You
actually
planned it.
100%.
You sent my
That's
work
so funny.
pictures with my badge. Then you planned all of this abuse and this ambush, and the karma is coming for all of you. Thank you.
All right.
Everybody serve Saquon and Daniel Jones because they're having a comeback game.
Well,
I agree with that. 100%.
I'm so glad you said that because we're getting right into that matchup. Giants at the
great.
Cardinals. Giants they're 5th against fantasy QBs, 22nd against running back, 12th against receivers, 6th versus tight end. The Cardinals 20th versus QBs, 11th versus running backs, 9th versus receivers. They're 19th versus tight ends. Nikki, give me some guys you like and don't like.
I like my whole team. I like Jones. I like Barkley. I like Waller. I like Hodgins. I like Paris Campbell. You start them all. Start them all because they are on the comeback. You can even turn around and start the defense. I don't like anybody on Arizona, and I will not tolerate any more slander going forward.
Well, actually, I will 1,000% back you on this one. I'm going to smash start all my Giants here. Definitely start that defense. There's nothing I like on the Cardinal side at all. So, yeah, we're good with that one. Let's go Jets at Cowboys. The Jets, they're 10th versus fantasy QBs, 14th versus running backs, 20th versus receivers, 23rd versus tight ends. Jake Ferguson. I know Jordan's excited. Their Cowboys are 4th versus QBs, 8th versus running backs, 2nd versus receivers, 22nd against tight ends themselves. What do you say, Mr. Jordan? Guys you like and don't like?
As a Cowboys fan, this one makes me a little bit nervous. Maybe not as much as the outcome, but for fantasy production, the Jets looked like the real deal all across that defensive front. Dak didn't have to really do anything against the Giants. Tony Pollard carried, most of the work there, and you're obviously starting Pollard every single week. I'm probably sitting Dak if I have a better option this week. I don't think with Zach Wilson on the other side of the ball, I don't think they're going to have to really air it out or throw it. I think that Brandon Cooks missed practice today, and he will probably not be playing in this game, which makes me think again, surprise, surprise, it might be Jake Ferguson time, who does lead the NFL in red zone targets so far, even though his Butterfinger having ass could not haul in one last week. I'm still beating the drum for my man, Jake Ferguson. On the other side of the ball, listen, Saquon didn't do much against Dallas, and I think it's really hard to start your running backs against Dallas, but last week I would have started Saquon. This week I will start Breece Hall because at the end of the day, you got to bet on talent. Garrett Wilson, I don't think you can bench the guy, but how do you start him with, Stephon Gilmore shadowing him all game and Zach Wilson being the guy that's throwing him the ball? So you start him because he's a stud, but it would make me very nervous.
Yeah, I can tell you how you can. There's a little thing at the side. It goes bench because that's where I'd put him. There's no way in hell I'd put him against, especially with Zach Wilson throwing the football. There's got to be some better options out there. All right, let's go to 49ers at the Rams. 49ers, they're 12th versus QBs, 12th versus running backs, 22nd against receivers, and they're 21st versus tight ends. Rams, 11th versus fantasy QBs, they're 9th versus running backs, 7th versus receivers, and 11th versus tight ends. Debbie, guys you like and don't like in this one?
First of all, I'm super excited for this game. I cannot wait. Honestly, just start the entire 49ers offense. McCaffrey, I've never seen a team built like this, to be honest. McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, who else we got? Trent Williams, I guess he's a left tackle, but just start them all. For the Rams, Puka, talked about him earlier. I would start him, Tutu as well. I definitely wouldn't start the Rams defense though. I think there's going to be, definitely without Cooper Kupp. Not sure if Aaron Donald can really hold it. So
yeah,
I think San Fran has this for sure.
This is going to be an interesting game, and the Rams played really well last week against Seahawks. Kind of came out of nowhere, so I'm really interested to see if that was a fluke or did they step up and give this 49er team a run this Sunday. So we'll see. All right, let's get on to the Commanders at the Broncos. Let's ride. The Commanders, number 1 against fantasy QBs. They're 4th against running backs, 6th against receivers, 24th versus tight ends. They played the Panthers last week, so that tells you a lot. Broncos 19th versus QBs, 3rd versus running backs, 27th versus receivers, and 5th versus tight ends. Nikki, guys you like and don't like in this one?
Yeah, so I don't like Antonio Gibson. I think it's clear that he is a secondary back behind Robinson. He was out snapped 59% to 37%, and he only saw 3 carries and 1 target. So I don't love this matchup, especially against the Broncos defense. That said, I think go ahead and start the Broncos defense because Sam Howell was struggling against Arizona's defense. And on paper, the Broncos have a better defense than Arizona. I think they're going to force Sam Howell into some mistakes. And now I think that they'll be able to capitalize off of that. So I'm here for the Broncos defense this week.
I like that indeed. Yeah, that's a smash start. And I like if I still like Courtland Sutton in this matchup. It's interesting to see if this Commanders team defense is real or was that just the Panthers offense making them look good. We'll be sure to find out. All right. Well, I've been trying to find some, I got my starters in, but I got some flex questions. So I got my boy Bandy from the Fourth and Flex podcast to come in. He's going to give us some flex starts of the week. Let's check it out.
Welcome back to Bandys Flex starts of the week. Here we go. Week 2 of the NFL season is underway. Listen here, guys. What do you need to help get you there? It's Bandy's Flex starts of the week. Let's hop right on into it. Coming up first is a guy that, we were disappointed with last week. A guy that you might have in your wide receiver 1 or 2 slot, but you're kind of disappointed, so you might have to throw him in the flex spot. That is DJ Moore. Throw DJ Moore in the flex spot at the very least. I really think he's going to bounce back this week. Moving on to the next guy, another guy that really disappointed us last week, but I really think it's going to pop again this week. Throw Christian Kirk into your flex spot. He will help you get that dub. Moving on to the last guy. This guy is on a team where maybe the guy might be coming back, but maybe not. Even if he does, listen, you got to throw Romeo Doubs in your flex spot because this guy balled out last week, and I'm pretty sure he's going to do it again this week. Went low in a lot of drafts. Romeo Doubs a steal, maybe on the waiver wire. So throw Romeo Doubs in that flex spot, and when they get you where you need to be, remember who sent you. Remember Bandy's Flex starts of the week, baby. Check out the show, Fourth and Flex Fantasy Football Podcast, right here on YouTube, baby.
Thank you. I've been working out.
I know Jordan loved those flex for TJ Moore. He named all your guys he liked.
That was rough.
I love it. All right, Colts fan, he's like, Dotson's going to have a tootie, he says. Howell will play much better this week. All right, we'll see. Yeah, we will see about that as well. And Dobbs, real number 1 in Green Bay. Yeah, it certainly looks that way. We'll see. It's only been 1 game, but we'll see how it rumbles. All right, well, let's finish the breakdown. We got America's team going to New England on the Sunday night matchup. Miami, 29th against fantasy QBs. They're 31st against running backs, 13th against receivers, 29th against tight ends. Patriots, 14th versus fantasy QBs, 23rd against running backs, 21st against receivers, numero uno against tight ends. What do you say, Jordan? Guys you like and don't like?
So for me in this one,
Oh. All right.
Okay.
Wait, did he do that on purpose? So this will be an interesting. I'll just take it over, Farb. Listen, it's going to be an interesting matchup to see if the Patriots, Bill Belichick, it's the old adage, he takes out what you do well. Does he take out Tyreek this game? For me, and I wish I had a little bit more time today, I wanted to see how well Jalen Waddle has performed in these matchups because I know Bill's going to want to take away Tyreek. So does that mean, hey, Jalen's going to be open the way it would naturally be, I would think. But, again, I don't know the history. So does he want to take away all the passing offense we have? And then do we run his Raheem Mostert day if he's healthy to go? So it'd be interesting to see how this matchup plays out. Jordan, you with us, my friend?
Yeah, I think I'm back. Sorry about that. We're talking about America's team, right?
We are.
Yeah, you're good. That was really funny, though. I was like, okay. Good
Sorry,
timing.
I don't know what happened. Either way, I mean, Tua Tagovailoa has quietly owned the New England Patriots in his short little NFL career. 4-0 record against them with him as the starting quarterback. Bet the Miami Dolphins with confidence in this one. Look, if you want the number one quarterback in football, fantasy-wise right now, dial up Tua Tagovailoa. If you want the number one wide receiver in football in fantasy right now, dial up Tyreek Hill. This Dolphins offense is awesome. I'm dialing up both of those wide receivers and quarterbacks, but I'm not telling you guys anything that you don't already know. I may have to eat my words a little bit on Mac Jones, who he really tore it up in week 1. I still think it was a little bit fluky, so I mean, I don't have him rostered literally anywhere, so I don't have this conundrum. But if you do, I'm probably still not starting him on a weekly basis. I think the Dolphins come in, handle business. There's nobody out of this wide receiver core that I'm starting. I don't care, how good Bourne looked this past week. It's still the Patriots. I'm going with my Dolphins offensive players. And I'm not touching anything on New England except for the number one tight end in all the land, Hunter Healthy, baby. Let's go.
Yes, indeed. Listen, I'm not that bat patter or whatever. Like, I'm not like going to toot my own horn. But man, did I have so many conversations this offseason about Tua. Boy, did I fucking tell you so. All right, let's get on to the next matchup. The Saints at the Panthers. The Saints against fantasy QBs, numero 2 against running backs 15th, against receivers 11th, tight ends, they're number 2. Panthers pretty effective on the defensive side, 9th versus QBs, 31st against running backs, number 1 against fantasy receivers, and 12th versus tight ends. Deb, give me some guys you like and don't like in this matchup.
I'm actually going to defer to Nikki on this one.
We switched.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's my bad. Sorry, my bad. Nikki, give me guys you like and don't like. My bad.
So I like Miles Sanders, right? I said this all summer that I think his fantasy value is going to go up getting over to the Panthers. So he played 58% of the snaps, 18 carries, rushed for 72 yards. The important one is that he was targeted 6 times, caught 4 passes for 26 yards. So that's the most that Sanders has been targeted since 2020. I know on paper, this probably doesn't look like the best matchup, but I like it in terms of volume. Scrolling through Twitter, I saw a lot of people asking about the Saints defense today. Hey, they scored 10 points last week. So I say if you have them, continue to roll with them because Bryce Young is a rookie. Let's not forget, he can be forced into making mistakes. So I think if you've got him, stick with them.
We talked up this Saints defense as a smash grab in every draft this summer. As we were looking at this schedule, not only that, they got some great matchups in the next 4 or 5 next week's game. So great call there on the defense. I like them as a huge smash start against this Panthers offense. All right, let's get on to the final Monday night matchup. Browns at the Steelers. Browns against fantasy QBs, number 3, running back 7 against receivers, they're 3rd, tight end, they're 9. That has a lot to do with last week against the Bengals. With the Steelers, they're 24th against QBs, 26th against running backs, 28th against receivers, and 10th versus tight ends. Deb, give me some guys you like and don't like in this matchup.
I think the Steelers have a top tier defense this season. I would definitely start them. Browns offense, anyone there not in love with really anybody, including Deshaun Watson. I don't think you start any of them. And Kenny Pickett, I don't know. I mean, I'm just not sure. I don't know if I'd start him. I like him. I don't know. What do you guys think about Pickett?
I hate him.
Not in this matchup.
Not this matchup, no.
Maybe against like, I don't know, somebody like with a garbage D. I'm just not a big believer in him. And this Browns defense, they came out and shut Joe Burrow the hell down. Even though, again, weather conditions are what they are. But if you're the highest paid player in the NFL, you should be able to play in any kind of weather. So I think it's just this Browns defense is just that good. So I really just see a big defensive matchup on this last of the Monday night games, quite frankly. And if I remember correctly, and I'll just call this one last thing, it says for this matchup, actual rain throughout the game with winds at 10 miles an hour. So I already thought it was going to be defensive and ugly, and it certainly might be. So make sure you watch that for Monday night. All right. Well, we've had a great time. It's Friday night. We've been at the club. Now it's time to go home and chill with the ones we love, a little Netflix and chill time. And we're here to get you in the mood. At least Nikki is anyway. It's time for some Friday Bandits.
Oh, God. What's up, guys? It's Nikki from the Blonde Blitz. And here are my top 3 fantasy loves of the week. This week, I have a crush on Jared Goff. He's going up against a Seahawks defense that just allowed my first fantasy love, Matt Stafford, to throw for 334 yards. I'm infatuated with Brandon Ayuk this week. One, because I had personally drafted him and we had a really great week together. But 2, he's developing some really excellent chemistry with Brock Purdy, and we all know how important chemistry is. This week, though, my heart belongs in Jacksonville. I told you guys all summer how much I loved Calvin Ridley, and it looks like I might have been right. Welcome back to the NFL, Calvin Ridley. He had 8 catches for 101 yards, 1 TD, and he was targeted 11 times. Looks like he will be the clear number 1 there in Jacksonville, and this week, he is number 1 in my heart.
Tell me about it, Steph.
God, I don't ever want to be on and watch that back.
That was amazing. Did anybody else think that was amazing?
It was great. What are you talking about? That was awesome. Like, I absolutely loved it. Well, listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us on Friday night. Get ready for your week 2 fantasy rosters. You can wake up with us, though, on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. We'll have lots of good stuff. In fact, we have a new segment on Sunday. Maddie Daddy has brought some locks of the week, so that's going to be a fun one as well. So make sure you check that out. The Blonde Blitz. Let's go, Nikki, Deb. Let's go, Nikki. We'll go to you first. Where can we follow, subscribe, get all the great content from you?
Guys can subscribe right here on the Fantasy Sports Corporation channel. Hit the subscribe button while you're here, the like button. You guys can follow me at NikkiNick9384. Blonde Blitz is every Wednesday. And I got to tell you guys, we have some amazing guests coming up, and we've got some really cool things coming up, Deb and I do, in the next couple weeks that we're going to be announcing. So stay tuned because the guest list is fire. The show is fire. We're having a great time, and we're getting a lot of buzz. People really appreciate it. I keep telling everybody there's just not another show out there like this. It just really isn't. So, we're Deb, will be 4 episodes in this week.
Yeah,
right?
I cannot wait. We've got Jen Welter, the first female NFL coach, coming on this week. We're going to interview her and get her picks as well.
Awesome. You guys are doing a great job over there. We love the show over here. Absolutely love it. Deb, you got anything else going on in your neck of the woods? Because I know you're all over. I see all these great announcements you're making. Anything else you want to put out there in the world?
I mean, just really honestly, Blonde Blitz has been a blast with Nikki. You can follow us at Blonde Blitz Pod on IG. I also am doing something for Sean Salisbury. It's Pro Sports Fans. So that's a new app. I'll be covering the Eagles as well as the Steelers for that, doing some live streams there as well. And I'll be working a lot with NFL alumni this season and going to some of their events, and it should be a good time. So might be doing some stuff with the Chargers too. So we'll see.
Awesome.
On the Los Angeles Football Network as well. So yeah, but
awesome.
You can follow me to at Sport Report Deb on IG and TikTok and Twitter or X or whatever it's called now.
Deb, never afraid to name drop. We appreciate you joining us tonight. No, we appreciate you being in, and both of you guys being in again, loving the show. For me and the judge, we appreciate you. We will see you on Sunday and get you ready. And next week, don't forget to join the Blonde Blitz on Wednesdays. We appreciate you, and we are out.